You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music, and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
From the Emek Revive Studios in Jerusalem, Israel, our nation's capital, it's Louis Live! Now your host, me, and Raphael Gallagher. How you doing, Raphael?
I'm good. We have a great person coming up and now in a minute or two.
Yeah, in a few seconds we're going to bring on our first guest, but we have a jam-packed show tonight. This whole week's been jam-packed. March Madness in full effect, NFL free agent signings, spring training, the list goes on. And so it's a fun show tonight here on Louis Live. Let's get it started. Our first guest is known as the Jewish Jordan. Was on a Sports Illustrated cover and has done a lot of great things in basketball and has some other projects going on now we want to talk to about. Let's bring on a good friend to Israel Sports Radio, Tamir Goodman. Tamir, how you doing out there?
Thank God. How's everybody doing?
We're doing great. Rosham, it's so wonderful to have you on. And as I mentioned before I put you on hold, you were on about a year ago. And one of the things that struck at me most about the interview was you mentioned that in high school, every day you got, was it 700 press requests? Is that correct?
No, there was 1 week after I announced that I was going to go play at the University of Maryland without playing on Shabbat. I had 700 media requests in 1 week, just that week.
Wow. So that's incredible, and it's difficult for anyone to manage, especially someone in high school. And partly I bring this up not only because it's fascinating, but because we're in March Madness, and I think sometimes what people forget when they're filling out their bracket, trying to figure out who's going to the Final Four, is that these are kids. These are 18 to 22-year-old kids. And what is it like to play under pressure at such a young age? So I want to get your perspective on it.
Well, for me, I never played for myself. I always played for the Jewish people and for Israel and for Hashem. So it allowed me to handle the pressure much better because it wasn't about me. It was always about something much bigger than me, and that always gave me like focus and direction and motivation. You know, even if guys were going to take a day off, I wouldn't take a day off because I wasn't playing for myself. I was playing for something bigger than myself. So that allowed me to handle the pressure better. I was also very connected, with my family, and I just grew up on Jewish values, and it's really the Judaism helped me handle the pressure as much as possible. I know that I did end up playing at Towson, Division I school in Maryland, who managed to change the schedule for me so I wouldn't have to play on Shabbat. And until today, the NCAA has never made an exception in Division I college basketball like they've made for me and for Shabbat. But our tournament experience was that we made it to our conference semifinals. If we won the semifinals and the championship, we would be in the big dance. But although my coach changed the regular season, he wasn't able to change that semifinal game. And it came out on a Friday night, and if our team won the semifinals on Friday night, they'd advance the championship game on Saturday night. Well, I found out that there was a hotel across the street from the arena, a different hotel than our team was staying at, and I told the coach before the game I'd go stay in that hotel on Friday night, and somehow I'll find out if you win. It's right across the street from the arena, and if you win, I'll meet you in the third quarter on Saturday night because Shabbat ended a half hour after the game started. So my father, Oliver Shalom, came to spend Shabbat with me in the hotel, and we knew we were the only two Jewish people in the whole area. But on Friday night, we heard a knock on the door, and it was so strange because, who would want to, join us for Shabbat in our hotel room? But we opened up the door, and to our surprise, it was the team. It was my entire team, and they stopped the team bus. They didn't go back to their hotel, even though they were starving and even though they were exhausted. And they say, Tamir, we just want to let you know that we won the game for you tonight, and we won the game for Shabbat. We respect you so much that you didn't play in the biggest game of your career, and we're excited that you get to play with us at least half the game on Saturday night. And on Saturday night, I got to the arena in the halftime, right at the third quarter was about to start, and everybody in the stands, everybody knew where I was. Everybody knew why I was late. And I got a chance to play in that atmosphere. We were down 20, two teams just really competing to make it to the big dance, and we ended up losing by 7. But I'm grateful to Hashem that I got to experience that type of game, that type of atmosphere of these college players giving everything they can to represent their teams and their schools, and it was a great journey. I'm glad I had the Judaism to give me the guidance to go along in these type of situations. But yeah, most players at that age, 18 to 20, they can't really understand the extent of this, because I think many times fans and people that are filling out these brackets, it's almost like they look at everything else around the game, whereas the players themselves are just looking at, we got a big game to win and focusing on the keys of the game, so they can't really understand the magnitude of how powerful it really is.
Great. Hi, Tamir. You're on now with Raphael. I just want to thank you for agreeing to come on. It's really great to talk to you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I just wanted to get your thoughts on everything that's been going on with that boys team in Houston that got so much attention. I'm sure our listeners would love to hear your thoughts on what you think about that whole situation, what those kids did and how they fought, and in the end it worked out for them.
Yeah, actually, it's a mini miracle from Hashem how this worked out, because about a year or so ago, a family in Houston called me up and they said, our son's having a bar mitzvah. Can you come to the bar mitzvah, maybe do a basketball clinic with his friends, and kind of like a speaking engagement there as well? And I said, sure. Well, about a week before I was supposed to go to the bar mitzvah, the family calls me up and they said, we're sorry, we couldn't find the right hall, we couldn't put this whole event together. However, there's this basketball team in Houston, and they're having a tournament here. Maybe you should come speak to the team and to the players in this tournament, and our son and maybe his friends will come hear you speak instead of just coming to the bar mitzvah. So in a roundabout way, by divine providence, I end up speaking to this basketball team in Houston in December. And the crux of the speech was, being proud of who you are, standing up for Shabbat, using your basketball with the right intentions, etc., and kind of motivating them along the lines of, if you're ever challenged with your Jewish identity, be proud of who you are, and at the end you're going to be successful, even if the challenges come along the way. And then a couple months after that speech, they were faced with the challenge, and they stood up to it, and I'm very proud of them, and they overcame the challenges, and at the end everything worked out for them, and it's a life-changing experience for them. Judaism came alive for them in a real way, and I was just so proud of them and so proud of the school and the program, and they managed to make a great sanctification of Judaism.
Right. That's cool. That's really cool to hear that you knew about the team before and all that. Now also moving on to something kind of similar, I'd like to ask your thoughts about, I believe her name is Nama Shfil, and she plays in Toledo, and she's also caused some headlines for kind of similar reasons as you, just in the women's world. So have you had a chance to meet her or ever talk to her?
Yes, I've known Nama since she was 12 years old. I speak to her. I speak to her coach as well a lot. I'm just very amazed by her talent and her skill level, and she's just been able to accomplish amazing things. We're all very proud of her. Unfortunately, she hurt her knee, but she's coming back. She's rehabbing, and I'm confident that she's going to come back better than ever, Bezrat Hashem, and I know that the coaching staff is really supporting her, and she's very, very, very strong-willed, and it's kind of amazing because, I'm in Ohio, and I live in Ohio now, and she's playing in Ohio. Omri Caspi's here, and Anthony Parker's here, so it's like we have this little mini Israeli basketball group over here in Ohio right now, so it's been kind of fun.
Yeah, it's actually funny you mentioned that because last couple of weeks we've had two Division I coaches who are Jewish that are also in Ohio. We had the University of Akron coach Keith Dambrot, and then we had the new promoted this year maybe, Kent State, head coach Rob Senderoff. So Ohio is the place to be now for Jewish basketball athletes.
Yeah, 100%. I know Coach Senderoff. I haven't got a chance to meet the Avon coach yet, but I look forward to meeting him one day. And yeah, we're living in really special times. People are a lot more proud of their Judaism, and they're uniting the physical with the spiritual, which is what we're supposed to do. So it's an exciting time.
Can you possibly give us an inside scoop? If not, Ama is planning to potentially play in Israel, or do you think is she going to try and play in the WNBA, or what are her plans for after her senior year?
I'm not sure. All I know right now is that she's rehabbing. She's redshirting and rehabbing this year, and that she's going to be playing her senior year at Toledo. That's the only thing that she's told me, and that's what she's focused on right now, as well as the coaching staff. So I think she had to make a big decision as to what her next steps going to be as far as next year. But from what I understand, she decided to redshirt this year, rehab her knee, come back, finish out her senior year, and then take it from there.
You know, we had Nama a few weeks before that game, that title game, so hopefully she won't forget us and come back on after she rehabs the knee and has a successful career in the WNBA, which I'm a big fan of the WNBA, so hope she does that. Tamara, I want to get your thoughts on March Madness. We had a couple playing games on Tuesday. Some people didn't like the idea of expanding the tournament, but those games were really exciting. What are your thoughts? Is it good that we went to 68 teams, or did you like it the way it was before?
I think in general, March Madness is just great. So because there's not many sporting venues like it left in the world of where kids are they're trying so hard on every possession, offensively, defensively. They really represent what sports, are about. And I think therefore they expanded it and just give the world a little bit more access to seeing more games and seeing sport at this level with this type of mindset and this type of hard work and dedication. It's a good thing because it's pure sport. We don't see that so often anymore. These student athletes, they work so hard, in the classroom, in the weight room, on the court, and it's almost magical. So I think the more the merrier because it kind of brings us back to what sport is about. It's about hard work and dedication and coming together. And I think that March Madness is great, and the more there is of it, the better it is for everyone. Because sometimes in the media we tend to pay so much attention to negative things that come out through sport, whether it's monetary issues or contracts or all sorts of other things that we hear about every day. And March Madness is just kind of brings us back to why we all fell in love with the sport in the first place. So I'm all for it.
Great. I just wanted to. This is something I've always really respected about you. I've also been through a whole ordeal with injuries. I just had a huge wrist surgery. I had to travel to the United States. And something that every time I read about you that really always kind of gives me motivation is that you went through not one, you had multiple serious orthopedic injuries. It wasn't like you had one bad injury. You had multiple injuries, and you kept coming back until you realized, my health is the most important. But after that knee injury that you had, I believe it was in the Army, right? Was it during the Army?
Yeah, I was trying to balance playing professionally and work with the armor personnel carriers, which I did in the Army, Chelchimush it's called.
Right.
And I had tremendous amount of injuries, and it seemed like every time I was supposed to, I started to play well again, I'd have another injury. So a lot of people see that as like a failed career because in the year 2000. I was the most valuable player of the Capital Classic All-Star Game, which features the top 24 players in the nation. I tied Jason Kidd's assist record in the game, and I think till today the only person to break my assist record in the game was LeBron James. So in 2000, I'm kind of like, everything in my basketball career is perfect. In 2009, I just couldn't play anymore because of all these injuries. When I was 27 and seemed they should have been at the top of my career. But on the surface, that may look like a failure, but Judaism kind of redefined success for us, and that's really given me my biggest blessing throughout this whole process is that, I continued to play and train until the day I couldn't do it, and every day give 100%. And therefore, when I couldn't play anymore, I was at peace with it, knowing that I did everything possible in my hands to play again. Came back from 3 career-ending injuries, and then I got to the point where I physically just couldn't play anymore. And that was a clear answer for me, from Hashem, that I just, my career needs to continue, but in a different way. And that's what I'm doing now, inspiring and doing camps and clinics, and just developed these really cool sports suit and doing all these things that I wouldn't have been able to do had I not gone through the injuries, because the injuries challenged me to grow spiritually and, not just focus on playing, but focus on what I can accomplish through basketball without me necessarily playing. And injuries have given me a new type of sensitivity to people and to challenge and to life that allowed me to do what I'm doing now. So my injuries were really my biggest blessing.
Okay, so speaking of the Tzitzit, the company that you just started, can you tell our listeners exactly, where they can look up some information about where they can buy it? Just all relevant details that you think our listeners would like to hear.
Yeah, the Tzitzit, they're called sports strings. The idea was born from just my challenge of being able to play at the highest level with my Tzitzit, whether it was getting permission from the commissioners to wear something under my jersey, or constantly having to buy new pairs that. And then, when I was growing up, people didn't play with their Tzitzit because, they said that it ruins the beged, it ruins the garment, it's not respectful for it. So I thought, nowadays there's high-performance materials that are made for sweat, that are made for, hard work. So why can't we develop a pair that are super comfortable that, people could wear on a day-to-day basis, but also play in athletics with? So we developed the first ever compression fit Tzitzit that are moisture-wicking, odor-wicking, UV protection, and it's been an unbelievable journey for me. I've had the idea in my head for 8 years, and after I retired from playing professionally, I've been able to allocate the time and everything to patenting it and going through the whole process. But I found it very interesting because when I got to Hechsher to make them kosher, I told the rabbi, I said, we say in Shema, Va'asu lahem tzitzit, make for them tzitzit. What other mitzvah does it say, like custom fit it, make it for them? Nowadays it's, people are into these type of materials. We're making it cool for them. We're making the mitzvah fun for them. And I find it so inspiring that we get to do this, and just the whole brainstorm of the idea, because in order to have kosher tzitzit, you need to have the majority open. It needs to be a 4-corner garment. So how can you have a compression fit if the majority needs to be open? So we were able to really make a cool design of an underlayer, an inner layer, and an outer layer, but it feels like one jersey, of a compression inner layer with the outer layer having the 4-corner garments, but it looks and feels like one jersey. And just to get the Hechsher on that from the OK was amazing. It's been an amazing journey because we've just had to go through the sea of halachot for Tzitzit to finally make them kosher, and now they're ready. We should be getting our first shipment in the next 3 weeks. You can get them at tamirgoodman.com. Just click on sports strings. We have 1,500. We ordered 2,000 and 1,500. We already have, pre-ordered 1,500 out of the 2,000 were already pre-ordered. So it's exciting. People are really excited about it, and I'm so glad that Hashem has given me the opportunity to work with this fun mitzvah.
Tamir, we're at the Emek Rafayim Studios on Emek Rafayim Street, and just down the road there is a park called Gan Palmon, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And Friday they have games before Shabbat. Everyone's playing. A lot of people wearing their tzitzis, and you can kind of tell they're in that world where they want to wear the tzitzis, but they don't because it's kind of uncomfortable playing with them. So I think this is a genius idea, and I hope everyone goes to tamirgoodman.com, gets a pair of basketball tzitzis, and wears them and is able to play. And have you've tried it out yourself? You're able to give your stamp of approval, right?
Oh, yeah. I cannot even believe how fun they are. Once you put them on, you never want to take them off. I mean, even if you're wearing like a button-down shirt or a suit, because they're like the compression fit, it just takes away any schlumpiness. They're looking very neat and tidy and athletic, and it's just so fun. You don't even believe that there's tzitzit. It just feels like you're wearing an incredible high performance compression shirt, and it's just been an amazing journey, and we're so excited that that's really taken off. And I love working out with them. When I run, when I shoot, anytime I play, my favorite thing now is playing in them. So it's just been great.
And before we let you go, Tamir, we just couldn't have you on during March Madness without asking you, who do you have in the Final Four? Who do you have winning March Madness this year?
I can't really give you a definite answer because I have like not a problem, but every time I watch basketball, I like look at only the positive things that each team is doing. So I never it's like every team that I watch, I'm like, man, they're doing this great, they're doing this great, they're doing this great. So I can't really narrow it down to 4. I just have like this thing inside me every time I'm watching basketball. I'm just looking at the best part of each team. So therefore, I can't give a fair assessment. But I wish best of luck to all teams. I'm glad they expanded the tournament. And as fans, it's an exciting time of year. And it should the good that comes out of this tournament should hopefully lead to good and to everybody in their own lives and only good things for everyone, especially for the people in Israel and especially for the girl, for the Chayat that was stabbed today. Hopefully she'll have a refuah shlema.
Amen.
And only good news for everyone. That's what we need. We need good news. We need Mashiach. But in the meantime, there's great people out there. There's good Jewish people doing their thing, specifically on the radio like you guys are doing. Everybody in their own ways pitching in to try to take Jewish pride and everything to the next level. And we're living in an auspicious time, so everyone should be blessed in their own way.
Tamir, that's got to be the most politically correct answer ever to a March Madness question. I love it. Because you don't want to make anybody mad. If you pick Carolina, the Duke people get mad, the Kansas people get mad. So you can't make anybody happy except that answer you just gave.
Perfect answer, Tamir.
All right, cool. Thank you guys so much.
All right, Tamir. Everyone, go to TamirGoodman.com and pick up a pair of basketball tzitzit. Happy Pesach, of course, to you and your family. 3 weeks away or so, a little closer to that. 3.5. 3.5. Got to start cleaning soon. So that's going to be fun if you've seen my room. Anyways, I won't burn Tamir with that. Tamir, we appreciate the time. Best of luck to your company, and we'll certainly have you on again in the near future.
Thanks, Tamir.
Thank you. Batzlacha. Thank you.
All the best.
Bye.
Be well.
Bye.
All right, Tamir Goodman, and of course, TamirGoodman.com. Pick up the seat. That's a cool idea. You've seen those games at Gan Palmo.
Oh, I used to participate in them before my injury. But yeah, there was exactly even more on Motzei Shabbat is when really a lot of the yeshiva guys come, and you always kind of look at them, and they have the biggest thing. Forget the tzitzit. The biggest thing is the kippah. Should I wear it? Should I not? Should I put it in my pocket? Should I put it on the side? It falls. People sit. People walk on it. But no, I think it's a very creative idea. He told us that already 1,500 have been pre-sold. There's a lot of Orthodox, schools in America that play basketball, and they could buy it. They could buy it as a team. There's just a lot of potential for it, especially in the state of Ohio. As we know.
Yes, with all the Jewish basketball going on out there. Yeah, that was always a tough decision for me. Usually I didn't play with my kippah because it didn't feel comfortable. You shoot, it just kind of moves in your head. It throws off your rhythm. Basketball is a very rhythm sport, especially shooting, so I didn't want to mess up my rhythm. So I generally took it off, but sometimes I wear a hat. I don't know. It's interesting, kind of that basketball Jewish culture where you wear your kippah or not, tzitzis or not. All right, we're going to take a break. On the other side, a very special guest, talk some NCAA tournament and local Israeli football. You're listening to Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa Card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Shutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Terry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.
All right, we're back here on Louis Live with Big Benjamin Block. We're going to discuss some March Madness, but first I want to go to local football. Big Ben, your Canes are in a playoff game this Friday against the Tel Aviv Pioneers. Have you had discussion with the Canes players on what their game plan is and what they got to do to win the ball game on Friday?
I honestly have not, but
well, Ari Weisport's been playing great. Marshall Milnick's been playing a lot of running back this year. So I imagine they're kind of a two-headed monster. Itai Ashkenazi is on the Pioneers. He's been somewhat injured. I don't know if he'll be able to do well, but I don't know. It's the Canes are the underdog. They're the 3 seed. They have to go on the road to Tel Aviv, but you still think though they have a chance.
They do have. I think they have a chance. They haven't actually played this season. I think it comes down to whoever's defense plays better against the run. I haven't seen Itai in the stat book lately, so that kind of takes the passing factor out of it. That doesn't mean that with some of the guys that the Pioneers have that they can't pass, but they are their own two-headed monster in the running game with Kobe Nimrod and Schlosky, but I think the matchup that's going to determine the game is Big Mike Gondelman versus my former teammate in Combat in Arms, Avia Shermack, who was playing for the Pioneers this year.
Right. That's right.
Avia's a heck of a guard, but Mikey might have the Ari Louis mental advantage over him.
Well, Big Mike wore a pink bandana in the last game on top of his head. And 2 weeks ago, he recovered a fumble. I don't know how he did it, but he got down on the ground and got a fumble from Johnny Joe Marticius.
He's a competitor.
Yeah.
He may be old, his body may be beat up, but he's a competitor. Can't forget that.
And the Canes got in the playoffs. They won the final game of the regular season against Beersheba Black Swarm by a touchdown, 20-14. Brandon McDougal, though, was hurt, and Kobe Nimrod won't be hurt. He's 100%, so I think he'll be playing pretty well. But don't forget, the Pioneers also have Idan Yaron and Aryeh Bauman, a.k.a. The Animal, so they're going to have a lot to offer with a punch, both offensively and defensively, against your Canes.
I mean, it depends on, as far offensively, it depends on whether Itai is playing or not. I don't know if their other quarterbacks have been, I don't think they have been reflecting on stats even close to as effective as Itai, nor do they have that quarterback-wide receiver relationship that Itai has with Edon Yoron. The only way I see that being a factor is if the Kings' defense somehow manages to get a hold of the Pioneers' rushing game early. But beyond that, it's going to be, whoever can get to the other team's running backs and whoever can make those stops in the backfield and fill in will probably win.
What do you think about Eli Skolnick's? Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
Oh, no, give me Eli Skolnick.
His progress, because he got hit a lot last year. You were the coach of the team a lot last year, and he would get hit a lot and sacked and bounce back up. And he's got a rifle of an arm. He had a couple of great passes against Black Swarm, but the receivers weren't able to make the catches for him. But talk about Eli's development overall. He's only 19 years old, second year in the IFL, but talk about his progress.
I think he's come into his own. His technical skills are still catching up, but he's a competitor. I think he's finally come to understand what it means to be a leader, even at a young age, and that's very impressive. He's had to really kind of be a leader, and he's only a kid, and I think it's really been a good success for him. So I think he's really coming to fruition.
And talk about Terry Hill's contribution to the Canes from Israel Sports Dynamic. He's got the background at Temple, so he has a lot of football knowledge, good high football IQ. So just what he brings to the team, what are your thoughts about that?
He brings an understanding of how backers of a team need to help the team operate. It's one thing, leadership in the IFL, in theory, you or I could write a team and check for $5,000, but, Terry's worked in athletic programs, and he still works in athletic programs, and he understands how the financial backer of a team, I don't know, in college it's obviously big donors, and he understands how they're supposed to support the team, support the program, help out with logistics, help out with, players getting injured, taking care of them, and so on and so forth. So it's been a real asset to have somebody who really understands how sports work do it.
And Big Ben, what did you think about my comments on the Israel Football League Facebook wall regarding the controversy over Lions v. Rebels?
I think, what do I think? I think that there were a few egos that had to be stroked. And by that I mean IFL egos. I know certainly there was interesting exchange between several players and officials after that game. And a little bit of controversy. The Rebels and the Lions have both kind of carved out a little rivalry. So anytime they play, there's, they've chilled out a lot over what it's been in the past. But, there's still always going to be some hard feelings, some animosity, and there's always been questions about officiating. But after officiating a few high school games last season, I can honestly say that unless you're practicing repping a game, all the time like they do at other levels, it's just not going to be perfect.
That's a great point. I never thought about that. Just like you have to
That's
practice.
the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
I just I don't see, it is hard. It's frustrating when you give it your all and then there is a bad call. So I do understand where those guys are coming from.
But I think that's the answer. The referees have to practice just like a player or a coach has to prepare a practice for a game.
Well, there's other things. There are certain. I'm not going to go too far into it, but having worked perhaps in the IFL office, when scheduling came around for games and finding officials, there are definitely a few guys that have their quirks that would make them less desirable to rep the big games. It was even weirder when you went to high school, the high school games. But overall, they're going to make mistakes. This is not something that's going to be avoidable. The question is, how they move forward from there. Do they, blow the whistle and get back in play, or do they start arguing and so on and so forth? So I think that is just part of it. There's every year in every league, from Pop Warner football or Little League all the way up through the NFL, the MLB, the NBA. There's always blown calls every year. ESPN has a field day with it, and it's just part of the game. And all you can do as a player and as a coach is try and get your team to play as best they can on the field, and that's about it.
Now, before we let you go, I've got to get your. By the way, joined by my new co-host Raphael Geller. So, Raphael, please say hi.
Hey, how you doing over there?
How you doing, Rafi?
I'm doing great.
Raphael Ben Raphael. Now, Raphael's a huge college basketball fan. Almost as big as you, I would say, as far as the love of college sports. Ben, you got to tell me, who do you have in your Final Four, and who do you have winning the championship?
Oh, who do I have in my Final Four? That is a good question. I think I have maybe.
Do you have North Carolina?
I have UNLV,
Whoa.
Missouri, Florida State, and North Carolina.
Okay.
And I actually have Mizzou beating Florida State in the national title game.
Whoa.
Mizzou.
Wow, and then you have Florida State upsetting North Carolina in the Final Four.
It happens. Florida State has been known to take down both North Carolina and Duke over the years. And I think that a lot of the top, the ones and twos in this particular tournament are fairly vulnerable as opposed to previous years.
Even Kentucky?
You saw it in conference tourneys. You saw it during the regular seasons. These are not the perfect ones and twos of previous seasons. Syracuse is obviously a unique case because of
Mello.
players. Yeah, Fab Mello. What a name. That's a unique case, but none of these teams are, we're not talking about the Dukes and Kentuckys of the 90s or early 2000s. Although they're both there, and they're both, power programs, but they're just not as strong as the top seeds we've seen in the past. I think Mizzou has probably got the strongest position as far as, the ones and twos go. There are two. UNLV has been known to take some people down, and I think they'll do it again. That's just kind of what I think. Kentucky, here's the thing with Kentucky. If Kentucky could keep their players for more than a year, John Calipari has been a master of doing one-and-done teams with guys that come for a year and then just go to the NBA. I would say otherwise. But that's basically been what's happened, and these guys don't have the team development that, teams of previous decades have had. And I think that's why, for one game and one game only, they're very vulnerable.
I'm feeling so much better about taking Florida State to go to the Final Four. When I fell to the bracket, I was like, and I ended up going through that. A lot of people have Florida State, and a lot of people have Missouri. We had a show with Dan Shulman from ESPN, and in that show, four people had Missouri going to the Final Four. Jazz and Marcus, and of course myself and Raphael. So, and you have them as well, but you have them winning the whole thing. You're taking that step, that extra step, saying they're going to win the whole championship.
Yeah, I think that the way their bracket is scheduled alone makes it an easy trip to the Final Four. And once they get there, I have them playing. I think they would play UNLV, at least in my bracket. And I think they've got the upper hand talent-wise and the level head that it takes to win that big game. And likewise, I think that they outmatch Florida State on talent. And, Florida State has an easier time beating ACC teams because they're just used to them. And here comes a Big 12 team, Mizzou, who's got, the better ball players. And I think they got it on them. That's the best way I can describe it.
All right, fair enough. All right, Big Ben, we appreciate the time. And last question before I let you go. All the fans in Israel want to know, what have you been up to out in the United States? We certainly miss you, and they want to know when you're coming back as well.
What have I been up to in the United States? Working, making it's a little something that doesn't really exist in Israel. It's called money. I've been back in the biz. It is what I do best.
Nice.
Back in the pawnbroking biz. I've been doing. It's been pretty busy here. I've had to take on a lot more responsibility. That's what I've been up to. I've been for business, as the great Don Morris would say.
That's right. Amen, of course. All right, Big Ben, we appreciate the time. The shout-outs to Don Morris as well. Of course, I'll have to tell the Don and report to him about that. And thanks so much for calling on Louis Live. And I'll let you know, actually, if you're up, you have to. Seattle's, 9 hours behind us? Right now, it's almost 5 o'clock. It's 22.
We just adjusted our clocks forward. It's
okay.
7:40 a.m. here.
7:40 a.m. Okay, so do the quick math. 3. It's 9 hours. So if you're up at 2 in the morning on Friday, you can listen to your Canes play the Pioneers on Israel Sports Network. That's isn.co.il. So you might be up watching the games anyways for March Madness, and you can feel free to listen to your Canes. If not, I'll probably.
I am on Friday. I go Kings.
Go Canes. All right. We'll see how it's. All right, Big Ben.
Go Kings.
Be well. We'll be in
All
touch.
right.
Thanks, man.
All right.
That was
take it easy.
Be well, man. That was Big Benjamin Block of your Jerusalem Kings, and he has Missouri winning the whole thing. You got to be surprised with that, right? I mean,
yeah.
There's not a lot to say. I mean, I don't know anyone who has Missouri winning the whole thing.
He has UNLV.
That also surprised me.
I mean, if I would have debated him in that segment, I would have said UNLV has been incredibly inconsistent all year. They beat North Carolina about 4 months ago, and since then they haven't really played that well.
That's probably they probably got a lower seed, but people remember that significant win beating Carolina.
I think it was in November. So I mean,
it's a different team. Good point.
Not even, these teams have, it's a full season. And, I don't know. Missouri to win the championship seems a little. I also thought it was interesting how he said the Kentucky team wasn't as strong because people have said this is one of their best teams ever. So, I don't know. I would love to have a next time.
Maybe next week.
Ben is on. We'll challenge each other.
Maybe next week we'll have him back on. And everyone seems to have Carolina winning the whole thing. So having Missouri really surprised me. But hey, you never know. Especially I think I'm even more surprised of all these picks that he had Carolina losing to Florida State. So I could see Carolina stubbing their toe in the title game. But I don't know about against Florida
State losing early. I just fill out my bracket, but. Well, we have John Akers coming up.
Yes. On the other side, we'll have John Akers. We'll talk some NCAA tournament with him. It's March Madness week.
Basketball Times. This is the biggest college basketball magazine in America, so in the world. And he's a publisher and editor. He's one of the top guys there. We're very excited to have him on. So, commercial.
Yes. We'll take a break, and on the other side, John Akers. You're listening to Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed frequent flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Shutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Terry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
All right, back on Louis Live, and we're joined by John Akers from the Basketball Times. John, how you doing out there?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Now, this Basketball Times is the #1 college basketball paper out there, and you're the publisher and the editor. So, again, this is a real treat. We certainly appreciate the time, especially during March Madness. And I guess the first question I have for you, Syracuse, kind of a scandal, roller coaster galore, and now with Fat Melo, he is not going to be able to play in the tournament. How much does this, certainly has an effect on the Orangemen, but how much is the effect? Is this the difference between, let's say, losing in the second round, going to the Elite Eight? Where do you see the difference?
I'm not sure if the difference will show up as early as the second round, although it could. But down the road, certainly, I think when the one that I project out is I think once they see an Ohio State that has some very big and talented bodies there, I think that could be a problem for Syracuse at that point. But Kansas State, maybe. I mean, in the second round, it's possible.
Hi, John. This is Raphael. We're very, very happy to have you on.
Well, thanks.
I just wanted to talk about some, in my opinion, hopefully your opinion as well, some kind of intriguing matchups, things that games that a lot of people in the States are looking forward to. So I want to start off with the Wisconsin-Montana game.
Yeah, that's an interesting. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm a big Big Ten fan. I'm an Indiana fan, so I've watched Wisconsin. They start off the year very poorly. Their point guard, Sorry Taylor, hasn't been playing that well. In my opinion, he's kind of had an off season. They're kind of something with that Wisconsin team is that they're always good, but they're always not really good. Bo Ryan always finds a way to finish in the top 4, top 5, but they haven't won, I don't think, recently, or maybe they have a couple years ago.
Well, they've never really gone after the top 10, top 20 type kids. They've always made more of what they have than
the local guys.
They've done more with less. They've always done that, and that may be where the ceiling seems to come in. Is that when they get down to an Elite 8 or a Sweet 16, that may be the point where talent takes over and they don't really get beyond that. I would agree with you on Jordan Taylor. He hasn't had a great year. I went out there and did a big story on him, and of course, right about that time, that's kind of when the decline started. But I don't think it's that he's suddenly become a bad player.
Right.
I think he's still capable of being the Jordan Taylor that he was last year. He just hasn't shot as well. He went from a guy that almost single-handedly beat Ohio State a year ago to a guy who's shooting probably, I haven't checked lately, but one time I know he was shooting less than 40% this year. But he still handles the ball well, and he's still the guy that Wisconsin's going to want shooting the ball at the end of the game.
So, not to put you on the spot, but do you think Montana can pull it off?
I don't think Montana can. I think Vanderbilt can in the second round.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I think it might stop for them.
Okay, cool. Let's move on to – there's a bunch of games, so let's move on to we were in the East region. Let's move on to an interesting game. In my opinion, again, a lot of people – I've been knocked the last couple weeks or last week on the show for keep mentioning this, but I look at this Kansas-Detroit game, and there's just something about it. Ray McCallum is a star that nobody knows about, recruited by Kansas Duke, everyone. They also have Eli Holman, who when he was on the way to Indiana, he was really well recruited. He came in the Calvin Sampson regime. I think he might have even come in before that. Then everything collapsed with the Calvin Sampson regime. So he joined Coach McCallum at Detroit. So those are two potential NBA players. Obviously, McCallum will be drafted. Eli Holman, not so sure, but has a lot of potential. And this Kansas team they're not young, but they're not very experienced in the NCAA tournament. Their best player was a reserve player last year. 15-2 is always, it's not very possible. But do you also find this game kind of intriguing, or am I the only one?
No, it is intriguing, but I don't see it. I don't see Detroit pulling off the upset there. But it is. You bring up some great points that they do have two very capable players, and really Kansas is. It's more than a two-man team, but there are two players that definitely stand out there. I'd put Kansas two over. I'd put Thomas Robinson and Tyshawn Taylor. They're in a different category, I think. One thing about Detroit on paper going into this year looked like a team that should have run away with the Horizon League.
Exactly.
To me. And they didn't. And I don't know what happened there. I haven't studied that one. Something was wrong. Maybe they've got things right again by winning the tournament. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, but maybe they are that team now, and maybe they will give Kansas a run.
Yeah, I think they've won something like 8 in a row. I think since February I don't think they've lost or something like that. And they have a very good coach who's he's been a head coach before he came to IU. He was a head coach. Has a lot of good recruiting ties. It's kind of this is the first NCAA appearance I think for Detroit since 1999. So we kind of put them back on the map. Butler had a down year. Valparaiso was very competitive this year. I think they were first and they won the regular season conference. But I definitely agree with you. This was supposed to be the year where Detroit would really run away with things, and they really struggled the first couple months of the season. They played some games against some bigger schools, and if you look at the scores, they didn't get blown out. They played pretty well, but they lost all of them. Kind of like the Long Beach State, not as many teams as Long Beach State. But speaking of Long Beach State, which they're a team that I followed a lot this year because they had so many great games against great teams, and when they won that Pitt game, it was like a big deal because Pitt was ranked. Obviously, we know what happened to Pitt. They're not even in. I don't even think they're playing in postseason. Oh no, they're in some tournament. It might be the NIT. But what are your thoughts on Long Beach State? They're reporting that Larry Anderson, one of their big three players, has a sore knee and he might not play. What's your thoughts on Long Beach State and what they can do in the tournament?
I haven't heard that about Larry, but I like Long Beach State a lot. I don't know if they'll beat New Mexico today. I kind of think this is a chalk tournament. That's just me. We're all, we all act like we're experts, and 90% of us are, turn out to be wrong. Mm-hmm. But I do like Long Beach State. They're a senior team. I know Dan Munson well. I know a couple of his assistants well. Casper Ware is another very good player, a two-time Big West Player of the Year there, and I think they start 4 seniors who have been starting since their freshman season.
Yeah.
So this is really an experienced team. Last year they really ran away with the Big West, but didn't win the tournament and didn't get in. So this is kind of their shot today, and I wish the best for them. Again, New Mexico is a tough. That's a tough situation. Drew Gordon, I think, is a very good player there.
Right.
The one thing about Drew Gordon that I think he averages about 11-11. If you take a look at what he does against elite level teams, the other teams in the tournament, and it's more like 18-14. I mean, he rises for big games, and I think he will through this tournament.
Okay, great. Another game that's, this is all my opinion. I want to get your opinion, obviously.
Sure.
This Iowa State Connecticut game. I just talked earlier a couple weeks ago. We were doing a Player of the Year, most disappointing team, and all that. And I had Connecticut as the most disappointing team by far. I didn't really have anyone close to them. Maybe Pitt, but Pitt doesn't have the star power that Connecticut does, especially with the additions of Drummond and Boatwright and Lamb, becoming a sophomore now, and Napier, and so many great players. And for them to, I think maybe they finished 500. I don't even think they finished 500 in the Big East. On the other side, you have this Iowa State team that's a very interesting team. Fred Hoiberg comes to coach, and he gets Royce White from Minnesota after that whole laptop scandal. They also have, I think, Chris Morgan, the ex-Michigan State player. So this team has some...
Chris Allen.
Chris
Allen.
Chris
I knew
Allen.
He meant, yeah.
So this is a pretty... Royce White, I think, he plays point guard sometimes, and he's 6'8", which is amazing.
Yeah, he's point forward there. You're right in my wheelhouse now. I'm an Iowa State alum, and was the... I actually... side story, I actually coached Fred Hoiberg in flag football when he was a 5th grader.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
So we go back there, but I obviously I have interest in the Iowa State, what's going on there, and it is an intriguing matchup. Iowa State, Fred got hammered for taking on all the transfers that they did this past year, and it's worked out for him, and I think that's great. And UConn has been a disappointment. You're absolutely right on there. And Royce White, I think, is one of the most interesting players in the country. He's listed at 6'8". Somebody told me he's probably closer to 6'5", but but the 270 is legitimate.
Yeah.
He's a Charles Barkley type. And he brings up the ball. He brings the ball up for him.
Okay.
Almost all the time. They don't really have a point guard.
Okay.
So he functions as low post. As a guy who'll start the offense and then go down the low post and play there. A really interesting guy. Kind of a flake a little bit. He's had some anxiety. He's got an anxiety disorder.
Yeah, there's
which caused some of the problems
great
in
article on
Minnesota.
that.
but he's a matchup nightmare for everyone, and I don't know what UConn will do with him, but there really isn't anybody else out there that's like him right now.
Okay, great analysis there. Moving on back to the Midwest, just another cool game. I really like this Belmont team. I think they're kind of flying under the radar. They almost beat Duke at the start of the season. Obviously, it was the start of the season, but this team also is a team with a lot of seniors. And, Georgetown, I think giving Georgetown a 3 seed was generous. They've had a good year, but no one really expected them to have a year that they've had. And they've had good games and they've had bad games. And if Belmont wins that game, then they have to only play the winner of NC State, San Diego State. So if Belmont can pull the upset off, they can easily win the next game as well. Because if they're coming off a victory against a power school from the Big East, why not beat NC State or San Diego State? What do you think about this Belmont team? They're really flying under the radar, in my opinion. There's so many other mid-majors people are talking about, but Belmont's kind of not been talked about as much.
They are. Again, this is a team I had higher expectations of this team this year. I thought they could be like a mid-major power this year. I thought they could be almost kind of what Murray State did this year. That's kind of the that's probably too high, but you know what I'm talking about. I thought they could be a team that would maybe make the occasional appearance in the top 25 this year, and they haven't been that. But they're still really good, and they're still loaded with seniors who have been there before, and all those cliches. Georgetown's real young, and you're absolutely right. They overachieved this year, and there's been some highs and lows. And I think that is spot on. That this is a game where you could kind of get through and then get on to the Sweet 16 from there. I think it's Georgetown that gets through, but if Belmont can do this, and they can, I didn't pick them that way, but they can, then they absolutely could move on, I think, to the next round beyond that.
Okay, moving to the state of Indiana, because we got to talk Indiana hoops, especially now that my Hoosiers are back. Let's start with the rivals. This Purdue team came into the seasons with a ton of question marks. They lost Howard. They lost Moore. They really were a completely different team. Last year they had Final Four expectations. Of course, Robbie Hummel tore his ACL for the second time, which even as a Hoosier fan, I hate to say it, but was devastating for me to see because I just respect him as a player. He's from Indiana. He's a good guy from what I've heard. And, so he comes back this year from 2 ACL surgeries and really kind of leads this Purdue team into the NCAA tournament. They finished the year, I think, 11-7 in the Big Ten, which is really not that bad if considering what they had this year. This team is kind of a lot of role players who are being put in the position to not be role players and be starters. DJ Bird's had a good year, and they kicked off Barlow for drugs or alcohol. But they've really, I think that Coach Painter has done a very good job with this team. And again, you look at their matchup against St. Mary's. They're having a great year. But what do you think of this Purdue St. Mary's game? What are you looking forward to it?
Well, that's more great analysis. It is Robbie and a bunch of role players. The point guard there is a pretty good Lewis Jackson.
Yeah, he's
pretty
great.
Good point guard. But it makes me fear the future there because once Robbie leaves, I don't know. I think Matt has done a great coaching job, and I think he'll continue to do that. But I do like St. Mary's a lot. I think they're really they proved themselves this year in a tougher West Coast conference than normal, with Gonzaga being Gonzaga and BYU in the mix this year. And they won the thing outright. They not only did that, they won the tournament, and I think that was a pretty good evidence of what they're capable of right now. Big Australian mix there.
Right,
but,
always Australian.
I think Robbie will need to go off for them to beat St. Mary's.
And he's more than capable. I mean, he is. You watch him and you kind of go, wait, this guy had 2 ACL surgeries. He still plays very well. He plays very hard.
And you're right. He's a great kid. I've met him before, and he's the kind of kid who looks you in the eye and calls you by your first name, and he's and wants, he's interested in you, as interested in you as you are in him, and he's just a terrific kid. We all wish the best for him. I think everybody in basketball wishes the best for Robbie.
Of course, I'm probably going to get some hate mail from my friends at IU who are family at IU, people we know that are going to say, I can't believe you said that. But again, exactly what you said. He's a good guy, a great player, and you look at this team without Robbie Hummel, and who knows if they win 4 or 5 games in the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's why I say I fear what's going to happen in a year. But Matt has shown that he's capable of getting more out of less. Okay,
great. Now let's go down south to Bloomington and talk about the Hoosiers, who've had, in my opinion, they're my team, so I've really watched every game of theirs, even from Israel. This team is capable of greatness, and then some nights you don't understand how they beat Kentucky and then how they lose to Nebraska. It's just, this team is, I think, inconsistent, really. Watford sometimes plays well, sometimes he doesn't. Oladipo's not really a good player. He's more just an athletic player. Hall struggles to create a shot. Zeller is very good, but he still also has some games where he has 4 or 5 points. Of course, Verdell Jones just tore his ACL. I don't know. I don't know if this New Mexico State team's played very well this year. I think they had almost the same record as Indiana, obviously in a different conference. But what are you looking forward to? First question: are you happy to see Indiana back in the tournament?
I am. I was one. I agree with you that they're a hard team to assess. I thought that from the very start. I misassessed them going into the season. I had one columnist pointed out that I think we picked them to finish 11th in the league.
Wow.
And the reason I did that was because I didn't expect the kind of season that I didn't expect what Cody Zeller brought for them. I knew he was a good player, but I thought, there's a lot of freshmen that come in and are good players, but are not difference makers, like Cody has been. And I think that's been it. But that said, you're also right in that Cody does have games, where he doesn't produce as much. And I think a lot of those games, if you go back again, the big games are the games where he's been, average, a good player,
exactly.
not the great player that he is, maybe sometimes when it's not quite as big. So I think it's been great to have them back. I think they could go into next season maybe being our number one. They'll be in the mix, in the conversation for next season's preseason number one if all the players leave who are expected to leave.
Oh, yeah.
But I think there's a ceiling for them right now, and Kentucky, I think, is the the matchup out there. Even though they beat Kentucky, I don't see that happening again.
Right, as you mentioned, you look at that Kentucky game, you look at it on paper. Terrence Jones really didn't show up, and Anthony Davis was struggling with foul trouble, and they still almost won. Marcus Teague and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist really led the way for that in that game, and they almost won that game. And IU
at Assembly Hall, where it's been pretty well documented this year. That's where the Hoosiers have been terrific.
We got I think Ohio State was number 2 or number 3, and then of course a couple weeks ago, the big win against Michigan State, who are actually number 1 seed, and we're gonna move to that right now. Michigan State as a 1 seed, Missouri as the 2 seed. A lot of, not controversy, but a lot of people, Missouri wins the Big 12 tournament. I think they're in my Final Four. I love this team. It's such a great team on paper to look at. Inside Kim England, there's so many Marcus Dent, there's so many great players, the Presley brothers. Do you think that Missouri should have gotten the 1 seed over MSU, or do you think MSU deserved it?
Well, at that point, it really doesn't matter because let's face it. If Missouri goes in as the number 1 seed, maybe there's a difference when they get, that they'd get to play the 4 seed and the, in the Elite 8 as opposed to the 3. But if they both come down to playing in a final, it doesn't make any difference at all which one was seeded higher. I think what was interesting was the committee actually, I think, when they ranked them 1 through 68, had Missouri as the number 8 team overall. So it really wasn't close for Missouri to be a number 1 seed, even though you could make that case for them.
Interesting.
So no, not really surprised, but I think this is an interesting region just because I think it's I think you're going to have some overachievers coming through this one. Michigan State was a huge overachiever. Missouri was a huge overachiever this year. So that's what's kind of fun, I think, about this region.
Right. I was watching the UNC Michigan State game this year. The first game on the Carrier, and they were just kind of talking about Michigan State. They've been very good. They've had stars, but this is going to be the year where it's like kind of the rebuilding year. It's Draymond Green and a bunch of freshmen, and maybe they'll be in the top 6 in the Big Ten, and then Tom Izzo does what he always does. Does a great job coaching with a bunch of youngsters, led by Green, who, in my opinion, is the Big Ten Player of the Year over Sullinger. But just Michigan State has played really well, and I completely agree with you. Really, really overachieved. So,
and Missouri did the same with
a new coach.
When they hired, a lot of people there were unhappy when they hired Frank Haith, who hadn't had a whole lot of success at Miami.
Yeah, one.
And then on top of that, Lawrence Bowers goes down and is lost for the season with an ACL injury. And now all of a sudden, what have they got? They've got 4 guards and a big man. And how are you going to play that way? Well, they played beautifully. They've really had a terrific season. So. Again, 2 overachievers, I think, and there are other teams. I think Florida will be an interesting matchup in a potential second-round game for Missouri because they're a lot like Missouri. They play a lot of guards,
so.
Kind of maybe one big man laying back.
Patrick Young.
Do they meet their equal? On that day, I think Missouri's done better with their 4 guards than Florida, but they haven't had a lot of opportunity. Neither team has faced a mirror team. I don't think quite like they will in that second round.
That's a very good point. Florida has I forget his name. He's a Rutgers transfer who was average, I think, 16 a game.
Mike Rosario.
They have Brad Beal, who's a great point guard.
Kenny Boynton, Irving Walker.
Walker.
Those are four good guards right there.
Right. Walker was rumored to come to IU back in the days. But and then Patrick Young down low. So that's a very I didn't even they're almost an identical team. Missouri has, I think, Radcliffe. I think that's his name.
Yeah, Ratliff. Yeah, Ricardo Ratliff. Junior college transfer 2 years ago and led the nation this year in field goal percentage.
Wow.
But not a guy who's going to sit down there and create his own shot a lot. He gets a lot of bounce backs and dunks, and gets a lot of junk that leads to high percentage shots. But but he's an anchor back there for him that they'd need. Without him, boy, they'd be lost.
Right. So I know you're very busy, and the tournament for you, or I guess for us too, but it's coming up in 48 minutes for all our listeners out there who are counting down the minutes. Let's just do a couple more questions, like 3 to 5 more minutes. This Florida State team, suddenly our last caller, Tamir Goodman, I'm sure you've heard of him, maybe you haven't.
Yeah.
Right. So he was, or no, maybe it wasn't him. It was someone else. Doesn't matter. But Florida State, they had Florida State in the championship game, and I've watched this Florida State team, and I think they're also overachievers. They lost Chris Singleton last year, the NBA, and and it's just kind of weird to see them so successful, winning the ACC tournament, and just Michael Snare's had all those crazy last-minute shots. They kind of remind me of IU in a way because they've had some dramatic wins and they've beaten some good teams, and then they've also lost to some weird teams that you kind of wonder why they've lost to them. So
absolutely, yeah.
What are your thoughts on?
They are hard. They're another hard team to assess.
Right.
They put the 33-point spanking on North Carolina earlier, and beat Duke as well, and of course then won the ACC tournament. And with a team that's kind of, I don't know, I don't know how to put it, maybe a little bit hard to watch. They're so defensive oriented, but they get it done. That they are an accomplished team. I think championship game is a stretch, but who knows? Again,
Okay.
we're all guessing.
Right.
Every one of us is guessing right now.
Right.
So it could happen, I guess. To me, they meet their match against Ohio State probably,
Okay.
but they're an interesting team. They've got another interesting guy in Bernard James, a shot blocker.
Right,
He sits
very-
back. He's like 28 years old. Spent time in the military.
Very interesting story.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, another team, which this is, I want to get your opinion on this before I move on to the next question. I really found some of the seeds kind of odd this year. I didn't understand a lot of the seedings. The next one, Michigan getting a 4 seed when Indiana and Wisconsin get 4 seeds. I didn't really understand. I think Michigan won a share of the regular season Big Ten championship, so giving them the same seed as Indiana, who lost to teams like Minnesota and Nebraska, I really didn't understand that. Did you think the seedings were good this year compared to other years?
Well, I don't know. I haven't spent a lot of time thinking about that necessarily.
Okay.
I hear what you're saying. You've got a co-champion from the Big Ten. Now, again, I haven't analyzed this, but keep in mind that even though if you win a title like that, it's an unbalanced schedule in the
right.
Big Ten. You're not playing every team twice.
Uh-huh.
So Michigan's share of the title might not be equal to Ohio State's and Michigan State's share of the title, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
And Indiana, though they lost some bad games in there, they've got that win over Kentucky, that they could put on their resume for the committee, and that's as big, for the committee as any conference game. What I mean by that is it's total resume. So you're going in, and being a co-champion really doesn't have any, that in itself doesn't really carry weight. It's the whole package that carries weight. And I don't know if Michigan's was that much better or worse than Wisconsin's, but I'm guessing that's what it came down to.
Okay. Very, very, yeah. Now that you put it that way, then that makes good sense. Another team that I think is intriguing because they're also kind of, what we just said, Michigan. They have some very good guards, Trey Burke and Tim Hardaway Jr., and then they have the 2 3-point shooters. One of their names I can't pronounce. I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. I think his first name is Evan. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Say that again. From where?
For Michigan, he's a.
I know who you. Yeah, I do.
I
know who you mean, and I don't have the name on top of my.
There's two.
Not coming to the tip of my tongue either.
Right. There's
I do know who you mean.
Two pretty much 3-point specialists, and then you have Tim Hardaway who can drive, and Trey Burke who's honestly been more consistent than Zeller. I think he at least he showed up in a big. I think he played really well against in Michigan State. So I think. I don't know. Him and Zeller should be a contest for freshman of the year. Zeller will probably win it because of IU's reemergence.
Actually, they were co-freshmen of the year this year.
Oh, they already announced it. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they have announced it. They were co-freshmen of the year.
Oh, so I think that makes sense. They both were very important to their teams.
Yep.
But so the weakness in this Michigan team is definitely the inside game. Do you think that will cause them some troubles in the first round or the second round or third round?
It could, but one thing to keep in mind, John Beilein's teams have always kind of been built that way. They're
at
more,
West Virginia.
They're not a Princeton offense, but they resemble, that kind of thing with the 4 out and 1 in type of thing, and a lot of back cuts and 3-point shooting and his philosophy, he basically will give up rebounding. I mean, his teams will never win a league or be among the national leaders in rebounding because they're just never going to be built that way. But they are going to be built for high percentage shots and basically they're going to make up their lack of rebounds by shooting it better. And that's what they do. And So it's a little bit. It could come down to where, I mean, they could wind up facing the ultimate big team in North Carolina.
Right.
And
that'd be
there
a
you
matchup
go, and that'll be the
nightmare.
test right there.
Can you imagine who would guard Henson? I mean, he has such long arms, and also, I mean, Harrison Barnes. I don't know who would guard Harrison Barnes. Maybe Tim Hardaway Jr., but he's so athletic. That'd be a good, interesting game.
Yeah, it would be an interesting game. And I'm trying to remember. Did they play last year in the tournament?
Who?
Michigan, or they might. Yeah, Duke.
Yeah,
maybe they played.
They played Duke.
Yeah, they did play Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was thinking for a second that it was North Carolina, but I was wrong on that.
Also, as you said, I think Bayline really deserves a lot of credit. Tommy Amaker was with that program for a while, and their fans. If you watch the games, their fans were kind of doing the Duke thing, the thing, but you always just kind of wondered, like, they have great fans, but they weren't getting NCAA tournaments. Obviously, Tommy Amaker now is at Harvard, who just did make it to the NCAA tournament. So let's give credit to both of them for both being in the tournament. I think Tom Amaker is playing or has had more success in Harvard than he did in Michigan. He's a former Coach K assistant. And Bayline, he came to Michigan, and within, I think this is his 4th year or 5th year, he's got them back as not a national power, but I think they finished the season ranked in the top 15, which is a pretty impressive feature.
And I think they're another team. He's got them on the rise. I think next year, I mentioned Indiana as a team that's going to be in the conversation going into next season. I think Michigan will be another one, assuming that they get Burke and Hardaway back, and they pick up a big man next year, Mitch McGarry, who's among the top kids in the nation.
Right, and I heard.
He's got him on the rise, and he's doing it with a style that is kind of not real sexy. It's not a running, and it's not a fast break type of system, but he's getting it done there, and I think it's impressive.
Okay, great. So now just last three teams. This Ohio State team, I can't say they're under the radar. I got criticized for saying that yesterday when we were talking to our insider with College Basketball Insider. But yes, they're a 2 seed, and yes, they lost to Michigan State in the finals, and that's probably, or in the conference room, that's probably why they're a 2 seed. But this team, Deshaun Thomas has really, in my opinion, been the X factor of the team this year. I remember watching him in high school. He was a great player. Indiana tried to get him. They couldn't get him. He went to Ohio State. Last year, he didn't play that much, or he didn't score that much. But this year, he's had some games where he's put up 30 and 20. And he's kind of like another sidekick for Sullinger. And, of course, William Buford, who I think is the most underrated player in the country by far. I don't even think anyone's close to him. A lot of people don't know about him. And, of course, they have Aaron Kraft, who won the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year. So do you think the Buckeyes can make a potential Final Four run?
Absolutely. And I think they will. And I think it's I thought that before Fab Melo was injured at Syracuse. So, and I think their road, became easier now. Not that it's easy, but I do think this is a team. I think benches get shorter at tournament time too, meaning that teams, are more willing to go with a core of 6 or 7. Well, Ohio State's been playing that way all year long, with a core group. I think Deshaun Thomas was always a big time scorer. He was also deficient defensively, and that's what kept him off the floor last year. This year, they had to play him, and I don't know if he's a better defensive player than he was a year ago, but I do know that he's scoring the way I think he would have even last year. That's just what kind of a player he is. He's a big time scorer, and he has been a big help to him. Sullinger has been injured a little bit, and for that reason, maybe not quite the beast that he was projected to be this year. Mm-hmm. Still a great player, but just maybe not the. I think we all thought he was going to be the best player in the country this year, and he hasn't been that.
No,
but he's still been a very good player. I think they're the whole package. They're the 4 players you mentioned. are all terrific, and they'll be something to contend with.
Yeah, as you mentioned, he was injured earlier in the season. That's why they lost to Kansas. I mean, I think if he was playing in that game, they probably win that game.
Everybody talks about Syracuse's depth too, and again, I think depth becomes less important actually in the tournament. Now you talk about things like, okay, you can have an injury or a player foul out, and obviously they're going to be able to absorb Melo's departure more than most teams would be able to. I think depth is actually overrated in the tournament. I think Ohio State will have. I think their 5 players are going to be better than Syracuse's, best 5 players, and I think that's what's going to come down to there.
Okay, I'm just gonna ask you one last question, and then I'm gonna ask you to put your Final Four on record. So, my last question for you, or it's not even a question, it's more of a give your analysis. I think something that's really cool about this tournament, if you just look at the bracket, there's a lot of really cool stories about some of the coaches in it. At Southern Miss, you have Eustace, is it Eustace or
Eustace? Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Who had that you're an Iowa State guy, so you know.
Yeah, so I'm very familiar with
the
that
whole
one
drinking
too, yeah.
problem, and it's really cool to see that he came back from that. He battled that, and they didn't win the conference tournament. Memphis did, and they still got an at-large, so that's really cool. You look at Colorado. I think his name's Coach Boyle. He's done a good job there.
Yeah.
There's Western Kentucky, who I think he played at Kentucky, and they're playing against Kentucky, so that's going to be special for him. There's so many great coaching stories in this. Loyola has a great coaching story. So yeah, what's your opinion, or are you looking forward to any coaches who are making their first appearance or anything like that?
Nothing. Yes, there are lots you're right. There's a ton of those. Nothing's jumping to mind right now. Well, I'll give you one. Murray State's got a first-year guy. Right. That holy cow, to come in and to go through the season and lose just one game. That's a great story. And they were picked to finish 3rd in the Ohio Valley Conference.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is probably the best of them all. But you have others like. We already talked about Michigan State not having high expectations this year, and Missouri not having high expectations this year. So that there are a ton of them out there.
Great. I've enjoyed this so much. I just want to ask you one last question. I hope that's okay.
Sure.
I hope we're not keeping you from anything.
No, you're great. It's fine.
Okay.
Don't keep me just so the games haven't started.
Okay. As a Big Ten guy. Obviously, Bruce Weber is out. We've been speaking about mid-majors. A coach that I've been following for a while is Greg Marshall, who did a really great job at Winthrop. Now he's done a really great job at Wichita State. I think they won the NIT last year, or maybe they were in the championship game. Now they're in the NCAA tournament. Have you heard of any – can you give us an inside scoop on any potential replacements for Bruce Weber at Illinois? Because that's a huge job in the basketball world, and we're just curious if you've heard anything lately.
It is. The name that's coming out the most there is Shaka Smart from VCU, and that's because Shaka's got some Chicago connections there, and obviously he's a hot commodity, and I imagine they'll make the typical run at Brad Stevens as well. How could you not? Butler's been down, but who cares? You get Butler to 2 national championship games, and you're hot for life. So I imagine they'll make a run at both those guys. I don't know if they'll go. They seem to be pretty grounded guys, pretty grounded young coaches who understand that they're in pretty good situations where they are. So, but those are Shaka Smart for certain is the hot name, the top name there.
Right, and Shaka Smart.
And Greg Marshall's name, his name is actually going to come up down for the South Carolina job.
Okay.
He's got South Carolina ties. He's lived most of his life in South Carolina. They recently fired their coach, Darren Horn.
Right.
And it's going to be interesting because the pull is there. I think there is going to be a family pull there for Greg. But on the flip side, he might have a better job now than he would at South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard place to
Wichita
win.
State supports basketball. It's a basketball school. South Carolina does not.
No,
it's a football school.
Steve Spurrier all the way there.
It is, and so Greg knows that. Greg knows what the situation is. So that's a hard one. That's a tough call. So that'll be an interesting one. Greg's a mover and a shaker, and I think he could get it done at South Carolina, but he knows what the challenge would be there.
Okay, so now we are putting this on record, so when we have you on again, hopefully we will be able to laugh in your face and make fun
mock
of you.
me.
No, we're just kidding. But we would love to hear, again, for our listeners out there, we're on with John Akers right now. He's the editor and publisher at the Basketball Times. So, John, can you please give us, drum rolls, your Final Four?
Well, I hate it when guys come in and give 3 number 1 seeds and I'm number 2 and act like they're really going out on a limb and picking something. And yet, that's what I've got this year. I've got Kentucky against Michigan State. I've got Ohio State against North Carolina. There's a reason why I think this is a different year than last year. Last year, we had a lot of players, the really elite players, left for the NBA. Mm-hmm. This year, because of the NBA lockout and the uncertainty there, we had a lot of really good players stay. And as a result, the upper tier teams this year are better than normal.
Right.
So that's why I think we're going to get the best teams going. The number 1s and number 2 seeds, I think, are going to get through. And I think the 2 best teams in the country, Kentucky and North Carolina, are going to play for the title. And I think North Carolina is going to win it all.
Okay.
All right, John, we certainly appreciate the time. I also have North Carolina, and it's so funny. I was cracking out when you said you hate when those guys pick the 3 1s and a 2 because I basically did that. I have 2 1s, a 2, and a 3, and whenever I do that, I feel like, well, I'm going out on a limb. I'm a little diverse, but not so much. But I agree with you. I think it's more of a chalk tournament, at least at the top in the Final Four. So we have
next year. If you call me next year, I'll give you all kinds of number 4 and 5 and 6 seeds. I'm sure.
Sure, absolutely, of course. But it was a lot of fun. We really appreciate the time, and we definitely have to do it real soon. We'll keep track of all the predictions and everything that was talked about. So thanks so much for your time, and
Thank you, John.
And have a good one out there.
Okay, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. John Akers from the College
Basketball
Times. Excuse me. We're going to take a break. We're a little overdue. We apologize to our sponsors. We'll take a break. We're going to talk Peyton Manning and a couple station announcements for a real quick segment, and then we'll bring on our last guest of the week. You're listening to Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Shutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Harry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live, quick segment before we bring out our final guest. Couple of programming announcements. Tomorrow at 11 a.m., we're going to have the Tel Aviv Pioneers hosting the Jerusalem Kings. That's a playoff game. Losers out. Winner will go on to face the Jerusalem Lions. And that game will be on isn.co.il. It'll be on our family friend, or not family friend, excuse me, our sister network, sister station, Israel Sports Network. That's 11 a.m. tomorrow. And then Saturday night will be the defending champion Judean Rebels hosting the surprising Haifa underdogs. Haifa missed the playoffs last year. They'll be taking on the Judean Rebels at Kraft Family Stadium. That game also, excuse me, on Israel Sports Network. So, again, check that on isn.co.il. Okay, a couple of quick stories. First, D'Antoni, he resigns. He steps down. We talked about how Carmelo Anthony was not happy with when we spoke with Jim Williams, who talked about that. Partly a factor, D'Antoni's decision. It was part of the reason why Amari went there in the first place, as Jim discussed yesterday. What are your thoughts about D'Antoni resigning?
I think it was good. I mean, it was either him or Carmelo. I think Jim kind of talked about that yesterday. And I think you got to go with him. He's been there a couple of years. Yeah, they made the playoffs last year, but it was as the 8th seed, 7th seed. And, I think it was the right decision. I have more respect that he didn't get fired. He actually resigned because he realized his direction, the way he was coaching the team just really wasn't working. And what do you know? I think the Knicks won by 35 last night with Mike Woodson as their new coach. So I think it was a good decision for the Knicks organization.
D'Antoni, I followed him a lot because he was a coach of the Phoenix Suns.
Right, of course.
The knock on him is he can get you in the playoffs. He can't win you a title. Of course, then he left the Suns, and the Suns fell apart for a year, and then they bounced back, and now they're back to falling apart.
Yeah.
So it depends. I always said there's only a few coaches that win titles. If you go back to 88, it's only, I think, 7 or 8 coaches that won a title. Chuck Daly, Phil Jackson, Larry Brown, Rudy Tomjanovich, Greg Popovich, Pat Riley, there might be 1 or 2 more I'm missing, Doc Rivers. It's not a lot of people. There's only a couple of people that know how to win a title in the NBA. So I wouldn't necessarily chuck him if you think that, excuse me, let me say this right. If you're thinking to yourself, well, we're not going to win a title with D'Antoni, that's not a reason to chuck him because you're not going to win a title with this new guy. You're not going to win a title with most people, so that's not a good enough reason. But it looked like they were on the downswing. Carmelo's upset, and most of the times when management has to choose between a player or a coach, they go with the player because the player is making more money. The player brings more people to the arena or stadium. The coach usually does it. So rarely do they side with the coach. I think when Chris Webber had that feud with Don Nelson, the Warriors, they sided with Don Nelson and traded Chris to the Washington Wizards at the time, Bullets at the time. So that was one of the rare times they went with coach over player. Usually it doesn't happen that way. Okay, that's story number one. Quick story. We're going to talk about Dwight Howard.
Wow.
He is not going to be traded from the Orlando Magic. He's not waiving anything. He's not going to waive his no-trade clause, correct?
Yeah, but from what I've heard, sources that have been saying across the NBA, they're saying that that's making the Wizards even more mad because he demanded that if he stays, he's going to fire Otis Smith, who's the GM.
They apparently met with Dwight Howard and said, "Who do you want as the coach and the general manager?"
Yeah, and he said, no, not the guys now. If I'm staying, I want the guys. I get to pick the coach. Stan Van Gundy's gone. Otis Smith is gone. Everyone's gone. I'm the man. I'm the king. It's just pathetic when you think about it. He hasn't even won a championship. I mean, he's a great player, but to say, obviously these are just sources. No one can confirm it. But to say that, it just seems like, what do you think? I just think I'm staying, I'm going, I'm staying, I'm going, I want to go. At least Chris Paul left when he said he wanted to leave, and now it's like he's changing his mind all the time. What do you think about it?
It's the player holding the team at hostage. And they did the same thing with Kobe Bryant at 26 when they got rid of Shaq for him. They got rid of Phil Jackson for him. And then he's like, well, I'm not sure if I want to come back with the Lakers or not. I mean, the Magic could very well fire Stan Van Gundy and the general manager and then say, okay, Dwight, do you want to come back with us? And he could say, I don't know, maybe.
Exactly.
It's dangerous.
It's giving too much power, right?
It's way too much power. As you mentioned, a guy that's not won a title. Nope. He's won a couple Defensive Player of the Year awards, and that's been about it.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know how you go further this season with Stan Van Gundy if they're going to keep Howard, and Howard doesn't want him there and has made that public, then how does Van Gundy go on coaching the team? And I feel bad for Stan because Shaq also had a problem with it as well, and Stan's done a lot with a little. I mean, he took the Magic to the finals not too long ago, 2010.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that team was a finals caliber team. That was the year as LeBron James, the 66 wins with the Cavs, and the Celtics had a good team. That was with the big three plus Rondo. And he got the Magic to the finals anyway. So I think he overachieved that year, and he's overachieved a few years. So I don't know why everyone's picking on Stan. As again, I mentioned, only a few coaches win NBA titles. Stan's done very well for that second caliber of coaches who have not won an NBA title. Okay, last quick story before we go to the break. Peyton Manning apparently has had an 8-hour meeting with the Tennessee Titans. Now, you told me in the green room that his wife, Peyton's wife, wants Peyton to go to Tennessee. They both went to school there. It would be a good way to end the career for Manning. I was a little nervous when I heard that was a possible option because I thought he could say yes to that. I certainly want him to go to the Arizona Cardinals. So, and you said that they do have a big target in Tennessee he could throw to.
Yeah, they have Kenny Britt, who's kind of one of the best young receivers in the league. Of course, they have one of the best running backs in the league, and they have a good defense. I don't know. It just seems like a perfect fit. He gets to go back to Tennessee. He gets to play the Colts twice a year and potentially beat the Colts twice a year. And they really – Bud Adams, who's their owner, has come out and been like, I want Peyton Manning. And no one else has really done that. And I think he realizes, even I heard a funny joke, or it was not a joke, I heard that the governor of Tennessee even called Manning and said, there's not much going on in Tennessee. So he comes to Tennessee. It goes from being one of those states that you're like, oh, Tennessee, where is that? To a state where, oh, Peyton Manning plays in Tennessee.
He would own the state pretty much. He'd be the most popular guy in that state, in the entire state. There was a part of me when I heard that option, I kind of said, hey, you should go do that. There was that feeling
the Cardinals, though.
I know, I wanted to go to the Cardinals,
Loyalty.
but from Peyton's perspective, what's best for Peyton, I kind of like that. It's a good end to the story. He's won 4 MVPs, he's won a Super Bowl. If he doesn't win another Super Bowl, he still goes down to many people as a top 5 quarterback all time, at least top 10.
Definitely.
And he ends his career, the good homecoming, back where it all started. Never won a Heisman in Tennessee, by the way. Never won a national championship. So it could be...
kind of like Andrew Luck, just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Andrew Luck, I don't know if he'll solve all the problems in Indianapolis, but I understand the need to draft him number 1. All right, we could talk about this for hours. We really could.
Days.
Yes. We got to take a break. And, Raphael, tell us who's on the other side.
We have Israel Bridge, I believe director, one of the main people there, Dan Aronovic, who is going to talk to us about his program. Basically focuses on sending Israeli athletes to the United States to play to be an NCAA athlete, which is really cool. We're very excited to have him on. He's going to tell us more detail about that. And
all right,
yeah.
So there you go. So we'll take a break. He's on the other side. You're listening to Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed frequent flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Shutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Terry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.israelgym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
Broadcasting live from
Hello?
Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live, and it's our pleasure to introduce our last guest of the evening. He is from the Israel Bridge, Dan Aronovic. Dan, did I pronounce your last name correctly?
Yes, you did.
Okay, great. Now, we love your organization, is reading up about it. Basically, what you do is you give Israeli athletes a chance to go to college in the United States, attend university. It's not an option or opportunity they'd always have. So talk a little bit about how you go about doing that.
Okay. Well, first of all, the athletes will usually approach me. I can sit at where I stand outside sometimes where they take the SAT tests and give out brochures, but it's usually word of mouth that the top athletes come to me because they've heard that I'm helping their friends to get into schools and get scholarships. The way it works is
we get them to make a video of themselves, especially if they're in a team sport like basketball, volleyball, or soccer. We'll put an email together and send a link of that video in the letter and send it out to as many coaches as we can, sometimes up to 800 or 900 coaches,
Wow.
and then communicate back and forth with the coaches so we can try to negotiate a scholarship.
Hi, Dan. You're on with Raphael. It's great to have you on.
Hi.
I want our listeners to hear more about it's. I remember when I was talking to you about it. It's a very complicated process. You kind of just talked about it now, where you said you have to send out everything to all the coaches. But what really was cool when we talked about is, can you tell us the differences in when you did this job in the 80s to where it is now, like in the last 20 years?
Sure.
Yeah, that's a great point that I think our listeners would love to hear.
Well, in one way, it was a lot easier in the 80s because all I would do is I would write a handwritten letter to a number of coaches. Let's say it was tennis coaches, because I myself am a tennis coach. I can refer to my being a tennis coach, an assistant tennis coach at Princeton University, which I was in the 1980s, and can tell them about a kid that's a great tennis player, and the coach would take it from take my word for it, and would offer him a scholarship by mail. But now with the internet, they want to see video of the kid. Sometimes they want to see even more, and they'll fly a kid out to see them play. And if it's a team sport, they will definitely need to fly them out, or the kid will have to fly out and try out in front of the coach so he could see what the kid looks like, because there have been too many cases recently of Israeli basketball players that were recommended by the top people here, and they ended up sitting on the bench of some of these programs. The coaches really want to see the players before they sign them up to a $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year scholarship.
All right, we had Tamir Goodman early on in the program, and he, I guess you could say, an America bridge, because played in America, was a star, then came to Israel. And I'm curious, have other athletes, no matter what level, Jewish or not Jewish, obviously probably Jewish, because it's the Israel bridge, but have athletes stepped up and helped you out and try to make this process a little easier for you?
Well, sometimes the athletes that are already in college will tell their coaches about a friend of theirs that they know is coming up. Yes, that does help out, but the coaches are getting, let's say, 20, 30 athletes a day approaching them, usually by email, trying to get on their radar, and the coaches have a very limited amount of scholarships to give out. So anybody that comes highly recommended from a good source is always interesting to a coach, but in the end, that coach is going to have to take a look at the kid himself and make a decision whether he's going to fit on the team or be a part of the organization that he's running.
Now, I'm checking out your site right now, and I'm from Arizona. I didn't go to the University of Arizona, but I like this story about Nimrod Shapira Bar-Or, that apparently he found out he was going to swim in the Beijing Olympics 5 days before his first race in 2008. Tell us that story.
That's right.
Yeah, how did that work? Tell us about that.
Well, let's see. With Nimrod, I understood that he was on, let's say, like a waiting list. He had, I guess, was close to qualifying time, but he hadn't exactly gotten qualifying time. And the Israeli Olympic Committee is very choosy about who they're going to send. So what happened was one of the athletes, I guess, if I recall, it turned out that he was ineligible for some reason to participate in the Olympics. Nimrod was on vacation with his family, and he gets a call, and 5 days later, he's going to China.
Wow, that's an absolutely amazing story. Another thing sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I think he did very well there, actually, and probably part of the reason was it was just not expected. So he went in there without any worries. He had nothing to lose, and he did very well.
Okay, another thing that I find really interesting is that it doesn't work like, okay, you're an athlete and you come up to let's say an athlete is interested in joining your program or your organization. It's not, they have to come up to you and say, I'd like to be in it. But something that's important to note is that they have to qualify. They have to have specific qualifications like grades and SATs, because the university has to accept them for that, right?
That's right. They have to go through a whole lot of hoops to jump a lot of hurdles to get to that final scholarship. First, they have to take the SATs. They have to get, let's say, around 1,000 or above on the 2 parts critical reading and mathematics. They need to take the TOEFL test, and they need to score, let's say, over an 80 at least on the TOEFL test. The TOEFL is the test of English as a foreign language. They also need to have graduated high school with the full amount of credits. Some kids graduate high school, but they're missing a credit or two. The NCAA won't take them if they don't have that full bagrut matriculation points. Then they have to send a video and catch the coach's attention. They'll usually send a highlight video if they're a soccer player or they're a basketball player or volleyball player, and then the coach will come back and say, I want a full game video. And coaches can sit and watch video for hours. They don't care. They just want to see the kid play as much as possible. If you're a swimmer, if you're a tennis player, or if you're, let's say, in track and field, it's about time for track and field and swimming. So if they have a published result where the swimmer can say in the 100-meter fly, I've swum it in this time, and the coach will know whether he's good or not. With a tennis player, it's about ranking. If he has an ITF, an International Tennis Federation ranking, or even better, an Association of Tennis Professionals or a WTA, a Women's Tennis Professional ranking, that will give the coach a great idea of how good those players are without having to send a video in. But with these other sports, they need to send a video. Then, if the video is okay and it interests the coach, then they're going to have to fly out there and play in front of the coach. So, here we already have 5 hurdles that the athlete has to go through in order to get to this final scholarship.
Okay, unfortunately we're running out of time. Our show got a little crazy today. So we want you to tell our listeners about your current athletes right now that are in the United States, and maybe potentially athletes that will be there in the future. Okay.
Well, let's see. We just had a couple of fantastic swimmers, all-American NCAA swimmers that are finishing up school. They finished up their eligibility as well. Guy Barnea at Cal Berkeley, and at Georgia Tech. His name is slipped my mind. But had a couple of All-Americans, and they were great. The next group of great athletes are coming are tennis players. Okay. Gilad Berman just started at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Wow. And I personally predict that he'll be top 50 in the United States in tennis in the coming years. He'll have to sit out for his first year, but then he'll start to play. Right now, I've got a number of basketball players that are looking to go to school, and 2 women's basketball players, 18-year-olds, that already have scholarship offers for the University of Buffalo and Temple University, and they're looking to start in September. So that is looking good for women's basketball for Israel. There are also a few men's basketball players that are hoping to get scholarship offers. They're still going to have to try out in front of the coaches, and a few soccer players as well that are out actually now in the United States going to different ID camps to play in front of the coaches.
All right. Again,
so that's about what we have for right now.
All right, it's a great organization. If anyone out there listening wants to help or can help, what should they do to go about doing that?
Okay, well, just Google the Israel Bridge, and my contact details are there. You can contact me, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. In the United States, my partner is Ross Greenstein, who works for Scholarship for Athletes, and you can contact Ross. You can contact me. We're always looking to have people host our athletes for the holidays, if possible, for a meal. And the athletes want to get to know Jewish families in the United States because they're a long way from home.
Well, again, it's just a wonderful organization, and we certainly appreciate the time today, you coming on our program. And again, Israel Bridge, check it out. You can Google them, find out more about it. Dan, certainly a pleasure. Have a happy Pesach to you and your family, and continue the good work.
Thank you very much, and the best to your listeners.
Thank you,
Bye.
Dan.
Thank you, Dan. Be well. All right, that's going to conclude our show for tonight and for this week. A great week here on Israel Sports Radio on Louis Live. I want to thank everyone for coming on today's show. First, Tamir Goodman, the Jewish Jordan. Check out his new basketball tzitzit on TamirGoodman.com. Big Benjamin Block from the Jerusalem Canes. Even though he hasn't played a down this year, he's still a Cane and always will be a Cane. He likes the Canes' chances against the Lions tomorrow, which that game will be broadcasted on isn.co.il, our sister network on Israel Sports Network, at 11 a.m. local time. That's tomorrow. And again, Motzei Shabbat, the Judean Rebels, defending champs, host the Haifa Underdogs, the upstart Haifa Underdogs, at 9:30. Pregame should be at 9 p.m. from Kraft Family Stadium. And we also got to thank John Akers from the Basketball Times. It's the #1 college basketball paper in the United States, for coming on. Very detailed, very well-spoken about March Madness, and he was honest with his predictions. We appreciate that. And, of course, Dan Aronovic from the Israel Bridge. So stay tuned next week for more great shows and great programming. But that's it for tonight. God bless and good night.